Question. Do you remember when rock was young? Elton John does in his 1972 Crocodile Rock. The song is pure nostalgia, looking back on the 1950s, an era of fad dances like the twist, the mashed potato, and the Watusi. But you know, there was never a dance called the Crocodile Rock until Sir John and his lyricist, Bernie Taupin, created it. In our next selection, we will take you on tour with Elton John with not only Crocodile Rock, but also the beautiful ballad, Your Song, and we'll finish up with Elton's Oscar-winning Can You Feel the Love Tonight from The Lion King. And now, Elton John on tour. So that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Get back in there.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
I think if they turned it sideways.
Okay. Oh, okay.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Woohoo! We finally got it. Thank you to everyone for being here. Thank you to Southeastern Massachusetts Community Concert Band for honoring us with your performance today. We appreciate your time for being here today. My name is Adam Gunn, and I'm a proud Easton resident, retired Navy chief, and it's a true honor to be standing here today, a part of all of this. So thank you all for being here. On this occasion, it calls us to reflect on what our American flag represents
and the people who have defended it. Old Glory is more than just stars and stripes. It's a symbol of sacrifice, service, unity, and the freedoms we enjoy each and every day. Each fold of the flag tells a story, and each wave in the wind reminds us that liberty must be protected. Our flag has had many names over the years, but one of the most enduring is Old Glory. The first name given by a young sea captain just north of here in Salem, Massachusetts. On his 21st birthday in 1824, Captain William Driver was given a large American flag. He raised it in a ship and declared, "I named her Old Glory." The flag traveled all over the world with him and was later hidden during the Civil War to protect it. When Union troops entered Nashville, he proudly raised it again. Today, Old Glory, that same Old Glory, rests in the Smithsonian Museum, but the pride stands behind the names that lives on every time our flag is raised. Today, we especially honor our veterans, many of them standing here holding these flags with us today. These are the men and women who have stood guard under the flag, both here and around the world. We also recognize the families who share in the service, supporting them throughout it all. Their quest makes their strength possible to fly our flag proudly. As part of Easton's Tricentennial, it's fitting that we look back with gratitude and forward with hope. We proudly distributed flags today thanks to Easton Motor Sales. And these are small tokens with a big message that reminds us that we are here and we care. I want to take a moment to thank John Morley, president of the Easton Bank, for sponsoring today's event. We simply couldn't have done any of this without you. I'd like to also give a big shout out to Dave Clifton, the Easton Tricentennial Chair, for overseeing this event, whose leadership and commitment helped today and so many other events possible. Thank you, Dave. I'm going to turn this microphone over to all of our AIM students, soon to be senior, Green and Melody, to sing the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Karina Melody. And to our flag coordinator, or flag curator, excuse me, who made this all possible, Mark Valentine.
Thank you. It's very special that these historic flags, part of a historic government collection of flags, have come to your town on such a special time. The first flag we have here, this one right here, the Mount Rushmore flag, was commissioned by the U.S. Department of Interior and National Park Service to cover the face of Lincoln, the very face of Lincoln on Mount Rushmore, to mark his 50th rededication. Our other flag, matter of fact, the flag was sewn together at the Kennedy Library in Boston, and where they had 12,000 school children file through watching the stripes and the stars sewn together. Both this flag and the World War II flag, the 48 Star flag, have been together since 1994. We're very honored to have the 48 Star World War II flag, which was commissioned by the Department of Defense. Both flags have been to all 50 states, have crossed 3 continents, and have logged over 2 million miles around the world over these last 30 years. That flag here, the World War II flag, was dedicated at Pearl Harbor in 1991, where at that time the president assembled with a dwindling band of Pearl Harbor survivors deep inside a volcano high above Honolulu. And there, the president dedicated that flag to our country's resolve. The Mount Rushmore flag here was dedicated to the goodwill of our country, which would be brought around the world. The Navy flag here was commissioned by the 1st Naval District in Boston and the captain of the USS Constitution. It was commissioned to sail aboard the ship when in 1997 it sailed up to Marblehead for a historic voyage. It was then escorted back to Boston by the Massachusetts State Police, where it was raised on the dockside to greet the returning Constitution, which is the flagship of our Navy, amid a thunderous cannon salute from the ship. So the goodwill be upon your town during this very special time, and also your resolve. So we're very honored to have all 3 historic flags. And just a note, as far as I know, Dave Clifton and Adam were responsible for getting these flags here, is that we're going to unfurl 3 of the American on Labor Day weekend, if all goes well, in front of your community building. But it's very, very special that these 3 flags are together. The Rushmore flag is going to be retired with the World War II flag next year. So this is one of its last official duties and listed as part of the official tour. The both flags were the 2 first American flags under the English Channel. We were over there in 1994 for the 50th of D-Day, and the tunnel wasn't even open until the fall. So to take these 2 flags, the only thing on board the super train under the channel, it was very, very special. And I'll just end with a couple quick speeches and points of interest that have traveled with these flags. We have gotten into a very bad habit, everybody, of cheering before the end of the national anthem. To cheer before the end of the national anthem is actually an insult to our country and the flag, and I'll tell you why. Even though we all cheer through the championships and all, it's kind of a spontaneous, but it's actually supposed to be like the great tenor Pavarotti. No one would ever dare clap until his last note went drifting off into the hemisphere. And if you notice at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, after they play the national anthem, there's not even a clap. There's supposed to be a pause and then wild applause. And the reason why it's so improper, the official account is this: by cheering before the end of the national anthem, you're missing the very important last words, which is land of the free and home of the brave. Now, where that brave came from was added in part to the national anthem in memory of the 56 men who signed the Declaration of Independence. Now, that was treason. Of the 56 men who signed the Declaration of Independence, 6 never even made it home. 6 were instantly seized on the road and tortured to death. 4 of them had their sons grabbed and imprisoned the length of the war. 12 of them from Virginia north had their homes and farms and plantations and shipyards and factories burned to the ground. And 9 of them were killed on the battlefield. Now at least you know we've been trying to, this is part of our main purposes of this exhibit, Traversing the World, not to cheer, but it's hard not to, but that's, at least you know now the official account. So we're very, very honored to bring these flags here to your town at such a special time in your town's history. And hopefully we'll see you all on Labor Day weekend, and that'll be announced later when we do all 3 flags downtown.
All right, we need a few more volunteers to come down and help us. We have an able couple of bodies. We need a few more volunteers to come down the flag. All right, I want to bring the military out in me. Let's do this. Thank you very much.
Let's give another warm round of applause to Southeastern Massachusetts Community Concert Band for the Armed Forces Melody. Those living in Eastern Massachusetts are fortunate to be a part of community with such a point and honor of its veterans and extraordinary 300-year legacy. Let us always remember and honor the brave men and women who are no longer with us, but who deeply understood and embodied the spirit of our flag and country. And now, please give a warm welcome to Dottie Fulganiti, the chair of the Easton Select Board, as she would like to say a few words on this special day on behalf of the town of Easton and the rest of the Select Board members. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. It's such a pleasure to be here on behalf of the Select Board to welcome you to Easton's Flag Day celebration, especially in this special year as we mark Easton's 300th anniversary. These events don't happen without dedicated volunteers. I'd like to thank the Tricentennial chairs, Dave Clifton and Dale Carrister, Select Board Representative Craig Barger, Assistant Town Administrator Sean Dugan, and the entire Tricentennial team, along with police, fire, DPW, state police, and of course the Flag Day coordinator, retired Chief Petty Officer Adam Gunn. I'd also like to thank Travis Partington, our MC and guest speaker, the Easton Scouts, Lions Club, Veteran Services Organizations, Armed Forces Community Concert Band, Southeastern Massachusetts Community Concert Band, later on music by the Reminiscence, and our very own, very gifted Easton musical artist, Karina Melody. This event wouldn't be possible without the generosity of our residents and businesses, and I'd like to thank and acknowledge and express our appreciation and gratitude to the Bank of Easton for their sponsorship today, and Alex Pyres for sponsoring the fireworks tonight. Flag Day honors the adoption of the Stars and Stripes in 1777, a symbol of unity, resilience, and freedom. As we gather here in Easton, a town with deep roots and strong community pride, we reflect on those values and what they mean to us today. Let's take this moment to thank our veterans and service members for protecting the freedoms that we celebrate. And let's enjoy tonight's music, food, and fireworks as a community, united under one flag and one future. Thank you, and happy Flag Day. Thank you.
To conclude our ceremony, please welcome back Karina Melody as she sings God Bless America alongside the Southeastern Massachusetts Community Concert Band. Thank you all for joining us today and enjoy the festivities.
That concludes today's ceremony today. We'd like to thank everyone for coming, along with our state representative, Bridget Blue, for coming today. And time and happy Flag Day.
Thank you.